very warm welcome. That is a warm welcome. It's another nice day. On the 23rd of September 2021, just after 7 o'clock, Jake put the thumb up, so off we go. This is a Podful of Saints number 9 for the 2021-22 season. God, that's a tongue twister. Somewhere over there in a scruffy old T-shirt, we've got Lee Wood.
Good evening, David. Jacob, how are we?
Jake?
Hello, and I'm very well, thank you.
Can't tell from here.
Started
right,
early.
we've got a couple of FA Cup ties to look at, and a couple of games to look forward to as well, actually. How are we going to fit it all in? Right, we start down at Thames Road last Saturday, the 18th of September. FA Cup second round qualifying, Concord Rangers 0, St Albans City 0. But it wasn't, all right, it wasn't a classic game, but it wasn't a 0-0 game really, was it, Jake?
I mean, no, we should have probably been 2 down at half time, and then the second half we probably should have scored 2 ourselves. So it's actually it wasn't too bad a game, but I think for Ian, I think in the first half was a bit of a shock for him. And I think we saw the response after the interval as Dave interrupts us. Because again, the right back position in the midfield, we've struggled so much really to do anything at all, and they just kept attacking down that flank, especially the right back. And I thought the game turned actually. After it was a draw in the end, but what stopped us going behind eventually was Concord stopped attacking Dave DJ at right back. I thought in the second half they didn't go at him as I thought they would, and second half, as you say, we had a couple of really good opportunities, but of course Michael Johnson was the hero again, with a very late penalty save, and thankfully that took us to a replay.
It should have been a game done and dusted, wouldn't it? But overall, I think having survived the first half, a draw was a fair result, as you say. We were a lot better in the second half. How did the highlights come across, Lee?
Pretty much that, to be honest with you. A lot of sort of lacking on quality, a little bit, if I'm honest. But apart from that, boys, chances for both sides. And it looked as though the draw was probably a fair result. But did sort of Concord stop attacking Dave because they were just scared of him? Because
I don't think so.
No,
only that word of truth. But it's funny, isn't it? We went down there last year and he scored, didn't he, in the league game? Do you remember that? Of course, he scored against them in the replay. We'll come on to that in a minute. There's not a lot else to say about Saturday, was it? It's just pleased to get it away. A draw was a good result. We'd take that quite happily, wouldn't we, really?
Yeah, absolutely. I think in the end, Ian was pretty happy with it. And I will say, actually, a couple of fans did remark to me that final 20 minutes, they said that Concord started to look quite tired and they thought they weren't really getting out much at all. And I wonder if we did see that feed into the replay as well. But yeah, I thought again on Saturday, we saw the class of a certain David Noble. We keep saying this, but second half especially, he just controlled the midfield and he's a big part of the game changing. But yeah, as I say, a draw was fair and we got to do it all again on Tuesday night at Clarence Park.
Yeah, it was a good result. They won their 3 home games. And in fact, actually, I thought last Saturday mirrored a lot of our games this season. We didn't do an awful lot first half, picked up in the second. And you could repeat that for 4 or 5 other games. Why that is, I've not got a clue. Any of you two got a theory?
Nah, don't need 90 minutes.
No, we just turn up at 4:45 in future on a Saturday. See how we get on. Right, to the replay. Surprisingly, Concord, they had a substitute goalkeeper Saturday because the previous Saturday their keeper got sent off for 2 yellow cards. We didn't really test the reserve one too much, I suppose. But for the reserve replay, first team choice keeper was back, and they made 4 other outfield changes as well. And you couldn't really see why. Maybe it was that tiredness.
Yeah, I don't really know why. And in comparison, actually, I think speaking against fans beforehand, they thought they'd see a few changes from Ian. But really, Ian stuck with a very similar side, bar 1 or 2, whereas Concord made those changes. And you have to say, it didn't really work for them.
People thought Nobby wouldn't play in the replay, but I just thought he would. I thought Ian would try and give him an hour or whatever, see what we could get out of him to get that extra bit of class. And it helps having somebody like that out there, doesn't it?
He's every time, isn't it, Lee? Every time we talk about him, it's just a different class.
Well, we were chatting in the pub, weren't we, beforehand about him? And at what point, when he can't play 2 games in a week, at what point does it become a luxury for Ian? You know, because you know you're going to have to change the side, maybe even the formation, to get someone else in to cover for where he was missing. But I'm glad that he played, because you can see again he's so instrumental, and what he doesn't, you know, what he lacks in pace, he more than makes up for in terms of intellect and just attitude, application as well. I mean, the fact that he just bossed the whole midfield with men probably half his age, you know, and it's just absolutely amazing, really. The man is he is a legend.
Well, the replay got off to a lively start. Tom Bender got his 4th booking of the season inside 4 minutes, but in 11 minutes, the man you were talking about earlier, Dave Deju, header at the back post.
Big Dave!
It was a lovely finish, actually. Watching it back on the highlights again on this morning, really well placed, and he didn't have much of a goal to aim for. So that was great to see, and the celebration was brilliant, actually, as well. It looked like it meant so much to him. Yeah,
it's funny, his last goal was against Concord. In fact, his last FA Cup goal before Tuesday was at Invercourt, but we'll come on to that later.
Hey.
I thought Concord, when they did attack on Tuesday, they were so fast and they were getting the ball really wide, trying to stretch us again, but they were going for low crosses all the time. They got a big Temi Abalola up front, and I didn't feel they really got the best out of him. 2 times he got through on the deck. He should have scored though, shouldn't he?
Yeah, there's especially I think it was 1-1-on-1 where the Saints had stopped for offside pretty much. I couldn't believe when it went wide. I thought, that's it. No, not at all. So yeah, they had their chances first half, but they couldn't take it, and the Saints did. And I believe he was being watched by a scout as well, wasn't he, Dave? So yeah. I don't think a great impression for him.
Well, his contribution over 2 games, came off a bench on Saturday, missed a penalty, then being watched by a scout on Tuesday, missed those 2 chances. The second one hit the inside of the post, and it was a good goal line clearance by Joey McKenna. But apart from that, we shut him out really well, I thought, didn't we?
Yeah.
We're going to give some praise to the defence this season.
I was going to say, I don't know what Lee thought, but for Tuesday was a much more improved performance defensively.
I agree. Yeah, it was solid enough. I was actually a little bit dubious about Concord, and you know they've got the ability to sort of tear us open sometimes, but I thought we handled them relatively well. And yes, Tavs, they did sort of try and stretch us, but we were a little bit aware of that. And in the second half, in particular, we did it to them, but with a lot more purpose. I have to say, for me, 2 standout performances. Mitchell Weiss, who was absolutely amazing. Where's that been for the last month? That ability to sort of take on someone, but also for me, Goddard. You cannot overemphasize the quality from set ball, from set pieces, and just to beat the first man at a corner. And but if you think I'm overreacting, go back to the highlights, especially from last year, and see how true that actually is. Yeah. To get a quality dead ball situation with that absolute precision crossing is absolutely key. And I think that was a real sort of, force to be answered to, because he was outstanding. Weiss was excellent as well. Jeffers, again, key for us up front. And when you can bring on the likes of Banton just to sort of complement those players in and around, Concord were, they were burning out their arse for the last half an hour. But when we can bring players of that quality on as well, I actually think the game wasn't that close. I think we created plenty. Yes, we wasted some, but I think we created plenty, and they had 1 or 2 issues of note. But apart from that, I thought we were relatively comfortable. We dictated the pace of the game, and that really did sort of prove into our favour.
Certainly, a little crowd where I was in the corner of the ground. You mentioned 2 players there. Well, Sean Jeffers and Johnny Goddard. Most people felt they had their quietest games of the season. And Sean wasn't really a threat. But when that chance came at the end, most people would let the ball just run, think it's going out for a goal kick or corner, whatever it would have been. And of course it wasn't. He went after it, and the keeper was, I think it was on the halfway line or something. I don't know what he was doing. And he come back, curled it in beautifully with his left foot. It was an instinctive goal scorer.
Yeah, he just that's why Ian got him in, and it was a brilliant finish. Actually, it looked almost impossible from the angle I was watching that, but it was superb. And Lee mentioned actually those John Goddard sort of deliveries on set pieces. I thought it was really noticeable on Tuesday night. They didn't really create much. Of course, Dave Deja did score from one, but the delivery for each and every one, and like Lee says, it's been so long since we've had a really good set piece taker, especially consistent on corners, actually beating a first man. It's quite a treat. So, yeah, I thought it was good. And also, Lee mentioned that pace of the game. The final 20 minutes, I don't know about you guys thought, but it wasn't particularly nervy. I thought, of course, the second goal really secured it, but never felt we were really under a lot of pressure.
But that second goal, though, Jake, it was very, very intelligent play from us, because what happened was they were pushing. Obviously, they're in the FA Cup. You're going to get that level of application from them. What happened was, yes, we were sort of playing it out wide when we sort of could. However, when it needed to, when we sort of pinned them back, it was just that one long ball out of every, 3 or 4 attacks. It kept them honest, kept them heading back towards their own goal. Very intelligent play from City.
Well, as we said earlier, that penalty saved by Michael Johnson 5 minutes time from Saturday, seconds before our second goal, he made another good save. Shot might have been straight at him, but it was still a good save, and that's what led to the breakaway and the goal.
Yeah, absolutely. And Dave, you mentioned him, but I thought Mitchell Weiss had something to say on Tuesday, and I think he showed that, and I think he's staking a place back in the team with that performance, because I think he was superb. I think a lot of fans have been asking for him. A lot of fans were happy to see him start. I think he proved that right.
He could do with a goal, though. It's way back in the early part of the year when he got one.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think when
He's got to play, though, Tabs, isn't he? He's got to play. He can't score if mate. He doesn't play.
He's played in most games, Lee.
Oh, I don't know. See, I thought the game at Concord on Saturday was a great demonstration of Mitchell Weiss not being used. I thought he came on too late, wasn't used enough, and whereas on Tuesday night, played him, and he was an important part of the win.
Yeah. It's worth what, £3,125, I think, to the club. That win.
Yeah, and especially when you've got a draw for the next round that isn't against National League South team, and suddenly, of course, but suddenly, it is an important win. I think we saw that with how devastated Concord were at the full time, and what I've seen from their players on social media afterwards. I think they were very disappointed that they couldn't put the game to bed on Saturday.
Jake, if you want to progress in the FA Cup this season, play a National League South side. Over the course of Saturday and Tuesday, 7 of our sides lost to lower league opposition. True. Which is a ridiculous number, isn't it? Except 1 or 2.
No, it was when we were looking through the results on the way home on Saturday, we couldn't believe it, could we, Dave? And even Tuesday night, we saw 1 or 2 more go. So really surprising. So does that mean we're getting knocked out in the next round?
Well, what does it say about standard at our level?
Well, it's not very good.
Raises questions, doesn't it? Now you find one of our clubs will go on and win the thing.
Not sure about that.
No?
No. Of course, Concord were FA trophy finalists, weren't they? So there you go.
Yeah, last year for the one 2 years ago, if that makes sense.
Yep.
Well, we might as well touch on the next round while we're here. Metropolitan Police. I don't suppose either of you two have seen us play the Met Police, have you? I don't think you have either, Lee, have you?
I don't believe so, no.
No. Their manager is Gavin McPherson. I think that's a Gavin McPherson who played 9 games for us in 1989. He was more reserve team player, scored 18 goals in 30 games. A tall young striker when he's with us. Only might not be the same one, but he did go off and join the police, so I suspect it is. They are in the Southern League Premier Division. They haven't won at home yet this season. 3 draws, but they've got a cracking away record, so we should be grateful it's an away fixture. They got a good pitch there. Of course, we went there, as we mentioned earlier, didn't we? Played Casuals 3 years ago.
Yes, we did, because Casuals couldn't play at their home ground, did they, at the time, because it was another game was being played there. So I think it'll be a nice little day out. By all accounts, quite a few Saints fans are already planning to make the trip down there, so I think it'll be quite a good atmosphere. When did we actually last play Met Police, Dave? I don't know if you've got it to hand. I know you can get it on the Saints Statistics website.
Oh, don't boost Webbo up. I'll let you know by the end of the show.
Okay, good. Should we mention one of the other then? Actually, well, should we talk about some of the off-the-pitch stuff from Tuesday night before we mention our friend Hemel?
Yes, save the best.
Your friend Hemel.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, sure, go for it.
Well, Tuesday evening, by all accounts, there was still some some ticketing issues, weren't there? I've heard. And also the sound system. I don't know about Lee. We stood together for a lot of it. We couldn't hear a blooming thing, could we?
All luckily it was you, mate. That was it. And that was bad enough.
Dear, oh dear.
I did hear that there is someone going into the ground next week to upgrade it, but I think it's desperately needed at a point. It was just, I couldn't understand the thing they were saying at all, which is disappointing. And of course, as well, friend of the podcast, Colin Toms was supposed to be on Radio Verulam on Tuesday evening, but for some reason that didn't happen.
What happened with that?
Apparently, he was not welcome to do the commentary by all accounts.
Club blocked it. The club blocked it. Why? I don't know. Well, what harm can it do with Colin reporting on a match in front of him? He's not going to bring any of the club politics into it. He's just going to report on football. He's done radio work for years, hasn't he? And he's never been chucked off. So one assumes he knows how to control himself on that. It's just madness.
Right. So he was invited by Radio Verulam to be co-commentator for the game, and then the club have subsequently blocked it.
Yeah, by all accounts.
I have to say that is absolutely abysmal, considering some of the shite they've put on there. You know, the co-commentators they've had on there, and as you say, Colin is a recognised, DJ and radio interviewer and journalist as well. And listen, don't forget, Colin is a fan of this club. Has been for decades. He would never go on there and use it as any political platform to get one over up on anything he doesn't agree with. And I think that, what are we going to do then? Just going to have allies of convenience come up and sort of sit next to Graham in the booth and start spurting out, come on.
Come on. About a low standard league. You know I got on Saturday, don't you?
Tell me.
There he is, got his hand up now. Just when you think can't get any lower.
Well, I've been invited on, but I do agree, especially. Sorry, Lee, go ahead.
No, listen, mate. I mean, if that is true, that is absolutely atrocious. They've let Colin back into the ground now. You invited him on. He's working on behalf of the media partner, Radio Verulam, well respected. Come on, what is he gonna do? Seriously, and you're talking about building bridges and creating that connection between fans. What are we going to do now if you just won't let people work on behalf of the club now?
I think it's just another incident. Sorry, Jake. It's just another incident. The last year and a half where they are working against the local media, and it is totally illogical. All right, we'll go back to the ticketing as well. I had a problem getting in. I thought I'd buy my ticket on the gate using a card Tuesday because season tickets don't work. So I presented my card. It didn't work. It took 5 minutes. Michael Hill was tapping away. I thought he was playing a piano, kept tapping it so many times, trying to get the ticket through. It took 5 minutes, and it was an absolute fiasco. Can you imagine if that had been 5 minutes before kickoff and not 1 hour before kickoff? And I wasn't the only one. I know at least one other one, so there's probably others as well had the same problem. This nonsense of not taking cards at all from Saturday and not taking cards is not only a case of blocking the media now, they are blocking supporters. They're banning supporters from getting in if you want to pay by card or cash on the day. How does that make the club self-sustainable?
That's one thing I would say though, mate, is that thing, stuff like that, not the machines not working, that can happen. That can happen.
Yes, but they could have taken cash leave and that would have got rid of the problem.
They could have taken cash, but the thing is, we're looking at the bigger picture of the club now being selective about who they're letting into the ground to work for media. That can't happen. This isn't Korea. This is St Albans. This needs to be looked at and it needs to be addressed. And we do know that people from the club watch this. Have a word with yourself, fellas, because that's not the way we really want St Albans to be portrayed in the local media. You keep preaching about the importance of community. Blocking people from doing a good, honest service on behalf of the club isn't the way forward. Card machines, tabs, that's another thing. I've been there, mate, when it just doesn't work. Stuff doesn't work, mate. Stuff can break. Stuff doesn't. It wasn't necessary.
Those who opted to pay by card at the gate would normally have paid by cash. Why create that potential problem from yourself? You say it happens with machines. You've got that danger of it happening. So why give yourself the option of it going wrong? Just take cash. I've never given a reason why they don't take cash. Why is that?
Yeah.
Well, Jake, you're closer to the media than us.
I do agree. They haven't ever been open as to why they aren't taking cash. I think that goes back to, again, the lack of communication and the communication issues that do exist. And in turn, I think that links with the whole Colin Toms thing, because, you know, why are they turning down someone who has a weekly show on Radio Verulam? He's part of the Radio Verulam family, and he was doing commentary for St Albans City in the 90s. He had his own TV show. You know, absolutely bonkers stuff and that. And I know he's had his issues with banning and stuff, but the club have welcomed him back. They've been open about getting him back to Clarence Park. So why is it now an issue that he can't do commentary? But I also agree that the communication as a whole, it is still a real struggle, especially on issues that really do matter to fans, like the cash, like the card, like how we are getting in Clarence Park, because it is still unclear as to why these decisions are being made and when they're changing and what's going on. I mean, I still can't get around why from the 9th of October you can't use card at all. What is up with that? I mean, this club wants to be sustainable, wants to be part of the community, wants to welcome every fan in, but why suddenly can't we have these fan rooms that are using card? So it's a big overall picture, and I think we all know, and we've all preached about these big overall issues at the club that still need tackling. But it just sort of puts a little bit of a sour taste, doesn't it, on otherwise a very good evening for the club.
That was a good evening. Did you see Devante Stanley down there on Tuesday?
Yes, I did, and it was great to see him there, actually. Really good. Of course, updates have been limited on him, and he looks well. He seems, I mean, by all accounts, he's really positive about what's coming down the line and how he's moving forward. So that's really good to see.
Yeah, he said he's got about another month of crushes and whatever else he's got before he goes some more scans in the hospital. Hopefully that'll be positive news. He said he's getting, no, I'm not medically minded, pins and needles 24 hours a day. Presumably that's his nerve ends, hopefully improving. So it's a good sign,
yeah.
One assumes.
And it's really good. And of course, we got an update about Michael as well, didn't we, on Saturday, Dave, and Michael Clark, and he's not terribly far away from coming back. So, you know, it is good to see these injuries improving. But yeah, Devante was really warmly welcomed by all the supporters on Saturday, and I think, or on Tuesday, sorry. I think he really felt the love.
But also, fellas, don't forget, that must be a massive confidence boost for the rest of the squad, you know, to have him there. Because the last time that many of these players would have seen him would be lying on the pitch at Sunbridge. So to have him up and around in the club tracksuit, in the dressing room, in the stands, for fans and players alike, and absolutely great scenes.
Yeah. Talking of Clarkey, I think he filled in for Colin Toms, didn't he, on Radio Verulam?
He did. So at least they did replace him with someone that was relevant to the football club and did have an insight. So yeah, I would say, going back to the ticking and stuff very briefly, if supporters do experience any issues at all, you should always go to the trust, as the trust do have that direct line to the club that maybe other people don't. And again, that's why people should get involved with the trust. And I know
Tabs isn't sure. Tabs isn't sure. Look at him. Look, he's not having it.
You said last week about a trust has spoken to the club. What was it about a tannoy? And nothing happened.
Well, apparently
this is a place to do it.
Yeah, apparently something is changing next week, the tannoy. But I do agree. But you know, again, get involved with the trust if you want to make changes at the club. I know of one or two fans that have joined on the back of our plea last week. And if you have any complaints, go to them, because they are the fan representatives at the club.
Oh, good. Perhaps someone come forward. Might be now to do a match preview, match report, a Twitter. They got rid of the last bloke. He was no good, Jake. And
yeah, I didn't really like him very much.
Well, I suppose. Before we go on to Saturday's game, because that's in the future, in the last week we've seen our first managerial casualties in National League South. Former City player, 45 minutes admittedly, Steve Lovell at Welling United. You read his leaving speech, Jake. I read it, and it doesn't make a blind bit of sense, does it?
It was bizarre, wasn't it? It was like sort of praising Welling to the hilt and saying they're going to go to all these great places. They've got a great squad, great team, but he's got to go. So very bizarre, wasn't it? He did say he was good friends with the owner, Mark Goldberg, and we just wondered if he's just sort of, I don't know. It's, you know,
that basically means he's mugged everyone off. He hates the owner. All the players are rubbish. He's just trying to save a little bit of face. We know how this works, boys. Come on.
That's Lee Wood, by the way. Anybody? If any listeners out there? But they haven't appointed anybody to replace him yet. So
it'll be Mark Goldberg himself, won't it?
He'll make a change, wouldn't he? He hadn't done it for a few weeks. What happened to his son Bradley? Do we know where he's playing these days?
he's not. No, he's not at Welling, is he? He must have. Was he at Dartford? Who knows?
Talking of players, we don't know where they are. One who left Maidenhead, if this has been spoken about, I think we spoke about it again on Saturday, Jake. One player who left Maidenhead United in the summer, former Saint James Comley.
I know.
Doesn't seem to have a club.
Spoken to so many fans about this. He would be a brilliant addition on a free agent to Clarence Park. You know, he's got so much quality. And there's actually a few players as well. Jamie Sendles-White, Jamie Fielding was a free agent until a couple of weeks ago. He went to Tonbridge. But James Comley is that big one. And I think it hurts fans as well a little bit as well, because that midfield has been needed some help this season. But also he would be a superb replacement for David Noble in those games he can't play.
Jamie Sendles-White, you said, goes to Tunbridge. They lose 5-0 to lower league opposition in the FA Cup, and you want us to sign him?
Jamie Fielding, not Sendles-White.
Oh, was it? All right.
Yeah, same thing.
Same question.
Come on.
I know nothing about non-league football, Lee. You know that.
No, but I think a lot of fans have mentioned Comley now at this point, but obviously it's felt like we don't need another midfielder.
Mind you, he's not a spring chicken anymore, I suppose. I think he's still only early 30s, isn't he?
I think he's 30 years old, I think.
Oh, right. Anyway, we shall see one day. Right, the other managerial change concerns a club at Vauxhall Road. Don't know where that is. Hemel were 2-0 up away to Ware in the FA Cup last Saturday. So for the first time since the early weeks of a lockdown, the Hemel supporters had reason to clap. They had got a replay though. That led to the sacking of manager Lee Bircham and his assistant Steve Bateman, and within 20 minutes, a new appointment.
Yeah, Mark Jones, not ex-Webbo /
Could you imagine? Could you imagine? That would have been amazing.
But it's ex-Oxford City, Mark Jones. I think there was a lot of rumours he was going to get it, and I think he got it quicker than anyone expected. I think him and Lee met on the revolving doors. It was so soon. On the face of it, looks like a decent appointment. He did okay at Oxford, but then they went and lost to Ware in the FA Cup. So who knows? Yeah,
first game. I don't read too much in that.
No.
Yeah, Jones, 3 years running, he got Oxford into the first round of the Cup. Last 6 months, he's been coach at Yeovil Town. So, you know, they might get out of the bottom three.
Annoyingly, it could be quite a decent appointment.
Yeah.
Sadly. But we'll see. He's got a lot of stuff to do there. That squad has got a lot of issues. I think speaking to someone at Hemel the other day, he said Mark has got to make some huge changes to that squad. I expect it'll be totally gutted in the next couple of weeks. And so they need to start getting points on the board already.
Yeah, and the outgoing manager suggested a lot of the players are coming back from injury, so he might get the benefit of those if they were any good in the first place, of course. But it wouldn't be.
That statement was also a little bit sort of guarded, wasn't it? It was very sort of leading question. You know, it was everything's happy. Yes, me and the chairman get on really, really well, but he sacked me, so that's good. It was just so bizarre how these statements. You know what? It's so refreshing when someone gets sacked. So you know what? I'm glad I'm out of there because it's an absolute shower, and I'm sort of done. So just amazing how these managers sort of try and put a brave face on the fact they've won like 2 throw-ins out of the last sort of 9 games. You know.
You want to go back to about 72, 73 and 73, 74, Lee. We got rid of managers more often than we won games those seasons. And they didn't hold back in what they said when they left.
Examples, Tabs, come on.
Sorry? Some examples. Well, the first one would be after Sid Prosser resigned in the summer of 72, John Drabwell came in, had a reasonable reputation, young manager coming up. He was gone by Christmas. Was it Mickey Hunter next? I think it was Danny Hunter's boy next. He got sacked after we lost it to Hitchin in the final Hitchin Centenary Cup. We lost at home to Loughborough Colleges. After him, it was, what's his name? Tommy Coleman, ex-Barnett guy.
Oh God, Lee, why'd you mention
things picked up after that? We got Tommy Barnett in, who was a bit of a character, and his long flowing hair, ball pit on the front. He played as well, ex-Romford. Oh, he was a character, and he did quite well. And he stayed there until Prosser came back for his second spell, which wasn't quite as successful as his first one.
And that was the history portion of the podcast.
Tabs, have you ever thought about going on Mastermind? Seriously, because that is absolutely mesmerising stuff, mate.
You don't know how much was correct, though, Lee. That's the problem.
Well, I'm taking your word as gospel, mate. You work in the media. What else can go wrong?
You're a bigger mug than Jake.
Dave, we mentioned on Saturday, we've mentioned before how poor Hemmel's record is on 3G.
Yes.
Of course, Mark Jones has come in,
Yeah.
and he's very much used to managing on 3G. So I suspect Hemmel's results may sadly turn around soon. And also, I had heard that Rod Stringer was in one of the candidates to get the job. That would have been fun, wouldn't it?
Rod Stringer.
But he gets on well with Ian, doesn't he, funny enough? But can you imagine him and Boggins?
Oh,
To be fair, though, Tabs, it is almost panto season, mate. So you can almost imagine it a little bit. You know.
Oh, dear.
Good stuff. So, talking to managers, there's a bit we stumbled across, wasn't there? Was it Mick Cook, the Chippenham Town manager? Following their 1-1 draw down the park a few weeks ago, they got a soft penalty in the first half, didn't they? And he claims that some of our coaching staff, didn't say who, was banging on the referee's door at half time. He wouldn't let them in. Maybe the toilet in the home dressing room wasn't working, I don't know. And funny enough, he claims we then got a soft penalty in the second half. Have you heard anything about this? Got anything on it?
It's all a conspiracy. We mentioned this actually. I spoke to you, Dave. It's hard to tell. We've got such a big coaching team now. It could have been anyone. There's about 20 candidates. You know.
I mean, gone are the days when you notice Tom Norman stirring it up in the dressing room. Right, Tom. He had a little promotion again.
Yes.
Apparently so. I mean, I don't think we can publicly announce it yet, but he's up to at least one of those bigger clubs now. Not those little Brighton team now. None of those. Wow.
Steve, so there are clubs higher than Stevenage in this world?
Apparently so.
Good Lord. But most of them in the Football League are really, aren't they?
I know. Yeah, Tom's meteoric rise, it just won't stop, will it? Whew. He'll be head of the FA next.
He can't do any worse than the old fogies up there. Right, we've got games.
Dave Tavener, by the way.
Thanks, Lee. Right, it says here on this team sheet, Saturday, 25th of September, 3 o'clock, Havant Waterlooville. Which is funny, in the previous home programme, it said that match was on a Tuesday. They don't come much tougher than that, we reckon.
No, they have spent a lot of money. They've brought in Alex Wall, everyone's favourite pantomime villain, talking of the pantomime season. James Roberts from Oxford, Joe Ostler from Oxford, a lad from Wildstone as well, who's dropped down. They spent so much money. It's actually on my notes somewhere, but you know, we'll just wing it. Billy Clifford. We all know that name.
Oh, crikey, no. Yeah,
Billy Clifford. So they've spent a lot of money, but their results aren't amazing so far this season. Only 2 points above us. Conceded 3 to Beaconsfield in the FA Cup. Did score 5. That's a minor point. But yeah, it's going to be tough.
But Jake, they spent money in the past though, mate. And it hasn't done them any favours. They're still at the same level. They've not progressed because of that inclusion of all that cash. So, and I think possibly history repeating itself. Yeah,
I think last season, obviously COVID postponed, but they spent a lot of money last time, including your friend of mine, Joe Ciaffardo. And they just had such a turgid season, mid-table pretty much for all of it. So I think you could be right.
It's funny, they spend that money, but they're looking to get spectators in there. Not like some clubs do it by charging the earth. They're charging, what is it, a tenner for home games? Season tickets were 100 quid or something. So they're trying to pack people in there.
I suppose it's interesting, isn't it? Because they have quite a few revenue streams. And of course, they have a manager who has quite a bit of financing himself. You saw what he did at Sutton. And at Havant, you've got that big pub on the side of the ground. You've got the 3G. There's a lot of routes for them to get money in. But also, at the end of the day, you get them in for a tenner, the amount of money they spend in the ground and in the pub, etc., you're probably making a profit, aren't you? So that is really how you want to treat your supporters. And always go down there. It's always a decent atmosphere. I've always got good support there. But yeah, it'd be how we'd want all football clubs to be run, isn't it? But I don't think it's really possible for some.
In some respects, yeah. Not all respects. It'd be nice to live by the seaside, I suppose, Jake. Yeah, well, wouldn't it?
In Havant, though?
All right, go the other side. Go to Gosport. That's a bit better.
Much better.
Much better.
They got through in the FA Cup as well, as you say, with a 5-3 win. So they look to get some of their money back that way as well, won't they? Do you two want to make a prediction for that one?
I'm going to go for a score draw, fellas. If I'm honest, it's just one of those fixtures where you think, oh, we got to play extremely well defensively and attackingly. We're going to get anything more than a draw out of this. I mean, I don't want to be negative because I do honestly think some of the football we're playing this season is fantastic and it's well thought out and well planned. But I think Saturday could be tricky. I'm going to go for a score draw.
How many?
I'm going to go for 2-2.
Ooh, yeah, that's a good shout.
Yeah.
I think there's going to be quite a few goals on Saturday. They've conceded a few. Our defence isn't perfect. But because they've lost 2 of their last 3
perfect. League... We haven't let a goal in over the last 2 games. What are you talking
exactly.
about?
Ignore me. But because, they've lost 2 of their last 3 league games, I'm going to go 3-2 Saints.
3-2 Saints. My goodness me.
Closest we got to a right score from either of you two so far this season was Lee away to Tunbridge when the game got abandoned.
What, did he go with abandonment?
Yeah, well, he could have done, couldn't he? Yeah.
Lee is a wise man.
That's not what you said off air.
No.
That's not what he tells me. Can I just mention quickly about the atmosphere on Tuesday? The crowd was decent. It was smaller than has been normally advertised, but I thought atmosphere under the lights, FA Cup at Clarence Park, it's always a winner, isn't it? It's a fantastic place to watch football anyway, but under the lights. And I thought the covered ends really they did their job particularly well. I don't know whether, because you sort of stand with the old fogies at the side, do you, Tabs, and sort of...
Hey, young to me, Lee. It's funny. It took the crowd about 20 minutes to get going, didn't it? But then they were very good after that, indeed.
But I think that goal sort of settled us down a little bit as well. It's particularly, I don't think we played well against Concord in the first leg. So it's just, but it happens. But I have to say there were lots of new faces there, lots of old faces as well. And we all came together as one and supported the club. And it was really, really good to see.
You mentioned under the lights, Lee. There were too many damn lights on the sides of the
oh my
bowler
God.
stand. Well, it wasn't me.
This doesn't work. I can't get in. I can't see anything. You know what, mate?
There are problems that the club's got to sort out. It was other supporters actually mentioned it, and I said, "You're blooming right." So by the time I got there, and they were moaning because they're like that. 2 spotlights shine down on spectators at the end of the game to help you get out. How lot left them on all game? I bet they thought people wanted to get out in the first minute. I don't know. It was so annoying. Every time you turn your head, boom.
Speaking of annoying, Tabs, come and stand with us the next time, mate. All 3 of us. We have some sort of we have a live podcast in the ground as we. Could you imagine? Lee Page would lose his mind.
I think it could be our last one.
Oh dear. I mean, talking to the fans, I'm not sure about the Sean Jeffers. He's one of our own songs. I mean, that needs some discussion.
Neil Metcalf said he's had about 30 clubs.
I think he left twice during the sort of game as well. So, but listen, we're not going to sit there and nitpick away at young fans. It's fantastic to see them there. The one of the own song, I just bin that one off, fellas. To be fair, but no, it was really good atmosphere, and to see feet on terraces as well. Yeah, welcome back.
Absolutely. Of course, the footballing world lost a legend this week with Jimmy Greaves, and of course
Jimmy Greaves as well.
God, Jimmy Greaves. Yeah,
that's a Freudian slip of everyone heard one.
It has, and he's played at Clarence Park, hasn't he, Dave?
I don't remind me. I was working that day. When was it? October '77. It was about 5 weeks after Mark Boland died. He didn't play down the park. FA Cup. I don't know, 3rd qualifying round, whatever it was. Home to Barnett. We lost 4-2. Greaves, he was playing midfield by then. I know it's well before your time, Jake, but he was a genius goal scorer. He really was. He scored 1 in that game. We lost 4-2. Bob Murphy was manager. He said Barnett were a poor side, except for Greaves. He's a sad loss. Virtually irreplaceable. We could go on for hours about him, but it's before your time, so we won't.
Well, that is our little tribute to Jimmy Greaves. So, yeah, I suppose on that very almost adult-like finish to the show, should we end there? Have we covered everything?
I think we have. Yeah.
I think most people are gone by now.
I hope
Jake,
so.
give them the Twitter handle and the ways they can contact us, mate.
Yeah, you can give us a tweet or a DM on a Podful of Saints. Getting lots of good engagement on there, lots of stuff about the Jimmy Gray podcast. So thank you to everyone for responding to that. And yeah, get involved with us. And of course, there's the email address as well, which will be in the description. And yeah, if you want to say anything nice about us, contact us. If not, don't.
Email the club.
Yeah.
Talking of the interviews, we plan to keep doing them, and we're going to try and do oldish person, whether it's official or player, and then a newish one like Jimmy Gray. Try and keep a mix all the way through, so we get varied stories.
If people do have any suggestions as well, who they'd like on, let us
Anyone
know.
who's cheap, yeah.
Yeah. Anyone we
Colin
can afford.
Toms.
Yeah, Colin Toms. Yeah.
No, nobody can have him.
So yeah, and I suppose that is I suppose we better say goodbye, haven't we? So we'll see everyone next week for the next episode. Thank you very much, everyone.
See you later.
Cheers, Lee.